President Bola Tinubu has budgeted 5 billion naira each for the purchase of a presidential yacht and another 5.5 billion naira for the Education Loan Fund as part of implementation of the Higher Education Access Act 2023, otherwise known as Students' Loan Act. The sum is part of the 2.17 trillion naira supplementary budget Mr. Tinubu sent to the National Assembly for approval. The president also budgeted 5.1 billion naira for the rehabilitation of 100 schools in 100 days program in the Federal Capital Territory. The budget has already scaled the second reading at the House of Representatives. The president has come under fire for also budgeting 28 billion naira for the purchase of luxury cars for himself, the First Lady, as well as the renovation of the president's residence, among other spending for the State House. The review of the proposed supplementary budget showed that despite the country's economic challenge, the government is also planning to spend 12.5 billion naira on the presidential air fleet. The budget also showed 4 billion naira for the renovation of the residential quarters of the president and 2.5 billion naira for the renovation of the vice president's residence. The government also plans to spend another 2.9 billion naira on sports utility vehicles (SUV) for the presidential villa and another 2.9 billion naira to replace operational vehicles for the presidency. The government also plans to spend 1.5 billion naira on vehicles for the office of First Lady, which doesn't exist under the country's law. This is the latest in the extravagant spending by the Nigerian government despite its continuous plea to Nigerians to endure the current hardship caused by the removal of petrol subsidy, which has led to a hike in the price of commodity goods by more than 300%. Last week, members of the House of Representatives began sharing a 2022 model of Toyota Land Cruiser Prado sport utility vehicles (SUV) to its members. The cost of the operational vehicles purchased by 469 members of the National Assembly is above the package prescribed for the lawmakers by the Revenue Mobilization Allocation and Fiscal Commission. The total amount is expected to be between 130 and 160 million naira for each. The Higher Education Act, signed into law by President Tinubu in June, was supposed to take off in September, but the president announced recently that the implementation has now been scheduled for January 2024. The Education Loan Fund was created by an act and is to be domiciled and managed by the Central Bank of Nigeria. The Act listed 8 sources of funding to include 1% of all profits accruing to the federal government from oil and other minerals, 1% of taxes, levies, and duties accruing to the federal government from the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Nigerian Immigration Service, and the Nigerian Customs Service, education bonds and education endowment fund schemes. The loan would also be funded through donations, gifts, grants, endowment, and revenue accruing to the fund from other sources. Meanwhile, the law also stipulates that constitution of a special 11-man committee chaired by the CBN governor, a secretary to the appointed by the chairperson. It is unclear whether this committee has been constituted or not. This channel was able to capture the mood of the country about the latest development that relates to the president insisting on the purchase of a presidential yacht. Please endeavor to subscribe to this channel for contents like this and leave us a comment if you will. Thank you so much for participating. See you next time.